So, chosen one, you have passed a humiliation ritual, and the narcissist, they don't want to play anymore. They don't want to play with you anymore. They don't want to play, like those mind games anymore, right? So, there are seasons in life when it feels as if, like every conversation is a test, every achievement is minimized, or every mistake it is magnified, right? And every step towards it is met like with another attempt to pull you back, right? It's as if like you're taking 5 steps forward, and then after that suddenly you are taking 10 steps back, right? So if you have lived through a relationship like that, you you know you know you know how maybe like exhausting it can be, right? You play, you start, wondering whether you are the problem, right? You start looking within, you start having second thoughts that maybe you may be the problem, right? You start wondering whether you are the problem. So you replay, like conversations, right, in your mind over and over. You apologize for things that were never your fault to begin with, right? You're taking fault in places that you shouldn't be taking fault in, right? You try harder, you give more, you explain yourself more, you sacrifice more, like you're hoping that somehow things will finally change, right? But something unexpected happens. You begin to change, not because, you know, someone like gave you the permission to, not because like a situation suddenly became easy, but you changed because you realized that your peace was worth protecting, right? You changed because you realized that your peace was worth protecting. The very reactions that once kept unhealthy patterns alive slowly disappears, right? They slowly move out of the way. So you stop, like arguing, over every accusation. You stop, like chasing people, you know, um, 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 chasing, after people who already made up their mind about you. You stop, like explaining yourself to those who twisted your words. No matter, like what they say or what you say, right? You always listen to yourself. You always do what you feel as if it contributes rather than chasing people's approval, right? So that is not, this is often the moment that, like everything shifted, right? That's when everything shifted. So chosen one, the old patterns no longer works. They no longer have the same effort anymore, the same, effect anymore, right? Someone who expected to control your emotions may become, like frustrated by you not obeying what they're telling you, right? Whether like that they admit it or not, but your growth changed the whole entire dynamic. Understand? But think about it. When like someone expects you to defend yourself every single time, you calmly like walk away instead. Like the script changes, right? The script changes because you are no longer predictable, right? When they expect tears but see confidence, the script changes, right? When they expect fear but they see peace, the script changes. But when they expect you to keep returning to the same toxicity, the same unhealthy, cycles, but you choose healing instead, the script also changes. And this is not about, like winning against another person, right? This is not, like a competition, right, between the two of you guys. It's about refusing to lose yourself. Do you understand? So chosen ones, because Many people spend years trying to earn respect from someone who never intended to give it freely to them. You understand? They spend years trying to, earn respect from someone who never intended to give that respect to them freely, right? So they believe that if, they become smarter, kinder, or more successful, or more patient, or more forgiving, then everything will finally improve. And which is a fallacy, is not true, right? So, but the real healing begins when you understand that your worth was never something that another person had the authority to give away. You understand? So the moment that you truly believe that, the moment that you ingrain that in your mind, your confidence no longer, depend on someone else's approval, right? You become, harder to manipulate because your identity, it is no longer built on pleasing people. You become harder to intimidate because your decisions are no longer driven by fear. You become harder to discourage because you have already survived, you know, what you once thought yourself that will destroy you, that you'll never get out of. You understand? So that doesn't mean that you never feel pain, right? You are human. It doesn't mean that you never, remember the difficult days. You will remember the difficult days, right? It doesn't mean that you will never have the moments of doubt. You will doubt yourself. That's being human, right? But it simply means that those moments no longer control the direction of your life. You understand? You are taking control over your life, right? And one of the greatest signs of growth is discovering that you no longer need to prove your value to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You understand? Because silence begins to feel more powerful than endless arguments. Distance begins to feel more healthier than constant conflict. Peace begins to feel more valuable than being right, or having the last win. You understand? So this is why many people experience their biggest breakthrough. So chosen ones, they stop asking. People, they stop asking, right? How do I make this person understand me? And they begin asking, how do I continue becoming the healthiest version of myself? They're beginning, taking the attention from you and navigating towards themselves, right? How do I become the healthiest version of myself? That they start asking themselves those questions. And that question changes everything, ladies and gentlemen, because your future isn't built by convincing or proving people wrong, right? It is built on becoming the right person. Every difficult experiences teaches us something, right? Sometimes it teaches us patience, sometimes it teaches us wisdom, sometimes it teaches us discernment, sometimes it teaches us boundaries, right? And sometimes it teaches you that not every battle deserves your energy. Sometimes you have to give God the steering wheel, right? Give him the right to fight your battles on your behalf, right? Sometimes battles don't deserve your energy, right? There is an incredible strength in walking away from situations that only drain your spirit. And there's also, courage in choosing peace over conflict that became familiar, right? So there's also maturity in refusing to return, to environments that constantly, demand you to shrink yourself just to make other people comfortable. You understand? So people may not always understand your boundaries. They may even criticize them, right? But healthy boundaries ain't walls. They are not walls to punish the, like to punish others, right? Healthy boundaries are for your own benefit, right? So chosen one, there are doors that protect your peace. There are doors that protect your peace. As you continue growing, you will notice something remarkable. The opinions of others that has kept you awake at night are losing their power over you. The criticism that once crushed, that 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 once like crushed your confidence, become easy to release. And the rejection that once defined your identity has become the only chapter in a much larger story. So you begin, like celebrating your progress instead of mourning what you have left behind. You stop, like measuring your value by who stayed and who left. And that is real victory. That is the definition of a real victory. Because victory isn't making, like someone regret losing you. Victory is waking up with peace. Victory is smiling again without pretending. Victory is laughing without guilt. Victory is pursuing your dreams without waiting for permission. Victory is believing that your future can be brighter than your past. So if this message speaks to you, child of God, let it be your reminder of one truth. Your healing matters. Your peace matters. Your growth matters, right? Like you don't have to return to the old cycles that because they're just familiar. You don't have to do that. You don't have to earn. You don't have, like to earn love by abandoning yourself. You don't have to keep, like carrying like the weight of someone else's choices. So you need to continue growing stronger. You need to continue protecting your peace. You need to continue choosing wisdom over chaos, right? Continue investing in your future instead of revisiting your past. So, chosen ones, the greatest response to a painful season is not revenge, it is transformation, right? It is transformation. And once you truly change, you will discover something beautiful, that the life that you were searching for, was never waiting on someone else's approval. No, the life that you're waiting for, it was waiting on your decision to believe that you were worthy enough all along. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.